is your usual suspect as always. Apologies for yesterday, those that were able to join us or those that were looking forward to our preview of the weekend fixtures. Most importantly, the London derby between Arsenal and Chelsea. We did do that, but we realized later on that we were not having volume or our microphones were off. So, so apologies for that. We've had to do amends, and so we will keep it short as compared to what we had done yesterday. But it's match day 29 is already underway. We did witness so many games yesterday, all of them experiencing some goals, some victories for some teams, and that kind of thing. But it's a blockbuster weekend filled with plenty of action. The Carabao Cup final is on today. That's between Liverpool and Newcastle. We'll be looking at that briefly. Then we do have Barcelona up against Atletico Madrid. That's in the Spanish La Liga. Yesterday, Real Madrid did win their game, beating up against Villarreal by 2-1. Joan Foyth opening the scoring there for Villarreal before Kylian Mbappe scored a brace that eventually turned out to be the match winner for Real Madrid. That brace coming in the first half in quick succession to send the French international, I think, to a 30 goal tally across all competitions in his debut season at Real Madrid, and sending Real Madrid to the summit of the La Liga table with 60 points there, I think, after 27 games, as they await for Atletico Madrid and Barcelona to face off with each other. Remember, before yesterday's game, it was just a point separating the third place team, that's Atletico Madrid, and the top two in Barcelona and Real Madrid, because those two were tied on 57 points apiece. Now, Real Madrid are following that victory up there with 60 points. So just something we will have to, anyways. Quickly, in the Premier League, like I said, there's the London derby, that's Arsenal versus Chelsea, but there are two London derbies. The other is between Fulham versus Tottenham Hotspurs. That's the other London. That's the other London derby that is ongoing today, and then later on, or very late in the evening on Super Sunday, we'll have Manchester United up against Leicester City. They do make that trip to Leicester City, a very poor Leicester City side, because they are having so many troubles under the judges of Ruud van Nistelrooy. So, anyways, why should we kick things off? Let's kick off with a preview of yesterday's results just briefly, because yesterday we did witness a couple of decent results. Everton having to leave it late through O'Brien to secure a point in their game against West Ham United. West Ham United going into the league through Thomas Tuchel. We did review those results. You can check out the full video down on the channel in our live broadcasts. Yes, we did review that. Then Nottingham Forest beating up against Ipswich Town by 4-2. Then we did witness Manchester City in a very, very entertaining game share the spoils with Brighton and Hove Albion in a 2-2 draw. Hi Yezi, thanks for tuning on to this live broadcast. And then Southampton were beaten up against by Wolverhampton Wanderers there by 2-1. So Wolverhampton Wanderers do brighten their chances of staying in the top flight, because the other teams battling relegation is Ipswich Town, Southampton, and then Leicester City. Those three, as they were promoted, by the way. And then in the late kickoff, we did witness Brentford beat up against Bournemouth by 2-1. Janelt scored an own goal to give Bournemouth the lead, while Johan Wissa and Christian Nogard were on target for the Thomas Frank side to secure those 3 points. Bournemouth falling short in defending set pieces. 2 corners, 2 goals resulted out of those. Johan Wissa heading home, and then Christian Nogard pouncing on a loose ball in the box to give Brentford that 2-1 victory. Anyways, moving forward into today's fixtures, like I said, our focus is going to be on Arsenal versus Chelsea. that's where our attention is. A game that does come at a point in time when neither team is in a position where they would have loved to be. Arsenal are second on the Premier League table with a 15-point gap between them and leaders Liverpool, while the following that victory for Nottingham Forest yesterday over Ipswich Town in the 4-2 victory, it means Nottingham Forest are now just a point behind Arsenal at 54 points, while Arsenal have 55 points. Liverpool lead the pile with 70 points, and then, of course, Chelsea are in 4th place. They also would want to close that gap on Arsenal as they continue in their pursuit of finishing in the top 4. So clearly, neither side is where they would have loved to be in regards to the standings, but I would say Chelsea are the better off side because nobody, hi Shinan and hi Atim, sorry, is it Amit? Yes, Amit, hi, thank you for tuning on. So, like I was saying, maybe Chelsea is the better side because coming into the season, no one had predicted that they would be competing for the title, although at some point they had shown us that maybe they would have competed, but they did fall off the wagon. But being in 4th place with the new manager in Enzo Maresca, who just came out of Leicester City, clearly for me, they're performing to the expectations. Yes, they are falling short in some measures, but overall, when you look at the overall season, they are doing well. They are still in the UEFA Conference League and they've advanced to the quarterfinals. Yes, they are out of all cup competitions domestically. That's in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, whose final is being played today. But that notwithstanding, I do think they've been a very brilliant team. In regards to recent form, again, Chelsea have the better of it because Arsenal are winless in their last 3 games, losing to West Ham by 1-0, sharing the spoils with Nottingham Forest in a goalless draw before their last result, which was a 1-1 draw against Manchester United. That's as far as the Premier League is concerned. Now, that is a game in particular where actually Manchester United would have gone on to win the game because they had the better of chances in terms of winning the game. David Weir having to come to the rescue to Arsenal at least more than twice. We did witness that double save that he had to pull off towards the end of the game, and that kind of thing. So, excuse me. So clearly, Arsenal have not been anywhere near impressive. The last victory in the Premier League came against Leicester City, beating them by 2-0, and then earlier than that, they had beaten up against Man City by 5-1. Since then, they've lost a couple of players to injury, including Kai Havertz, who is out of the rest of the season. Kai Havertz being their top scorer with 9 Premier League goals, out for the rest of the season. But I think they will take solace in knowing that they are welcoming back, Gabriel Martinelli was featured in the last 2 games, coming off the bench, and then Bukayo Saka is not too far away from returning from that hamstring injury, although that won't be until after the international break. I think in their game against Fulham that they will play, I think on April 2nd, it will be a Tuesday there, because next weekend it's the international break. So anyways, so that means 2 victories, 2 draws, and 1 loss in their last 5. In sheer comparison, on the other side, Chelsea have won their last 2 games, beating up against Leicester City by 1-0, beating up against Southampton by 4-0. And when you rewind things a little further back, of course, they did register 2 losses, losing to Aston Villa by 2-1 and to Brighton and Hove Albion by 3-0. Much earlier than that, they had beaten up against West Ham by 2-1. So that's their form table in regards to the last 5 fixtures. So clearly, Chelsea have the better of it. When you have 3 victories, that's 9 points, and the other one has 8 points from 2 victories and 2 draws and 1 loss. So clearly, that's how I look at it. Overall, Arsenal have dominated this particular fixture in the last 5 meetings between the 2 sides, although Arsenal have been majorly winning most of these games at home. That's at the Emirates Stadium, where they do find themselves today. When you look at the last 5 meetings between the 2 sides, Arsenal have won 3 of those. The other 2 have ended in draws, including last season's 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge, and this season is a 1-1 draw, still at the same turf. Gabriel Martinelli giving Arsenal the lead at around the 60th minute or something before Pedro Neto restored parity around 10 minutes later with a sumptuous, strike in that particular game. So clearly, both managers are apprentices of Pep Guardiola. They did work under Pep Guardiola years back. We all know Mikel Arteta came out of Manchester City to join Arsenal. That was in December 2019. Yes, December 2019. And then Enzo Maresca was once under the coaching team of Pep Guardiola before leaving. Of course, he did manage Leicester City and got them promoted to the Premier League last season before now going to Chelsea, where he does apply his trade. So clearly, both figures do know each other very well. They are both managers want to play that fluid football, very progressive. So we do expect a very attacking game. However, given the amount of chances that Arsenal has been creating in recent times, you sort of don't get so much encouraged, especially in the Premier League. However, if they need any inspiration, that we had hoped they would bench on was that 7-1 victory 2 weeks ago against PSV in the UEFA Champions League before that 2-2 draw in the return leg. So clearly, Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard, who has been far from his best this season, of course, never mind that he did suffer an ankle injury that kept him out of action for 2 months. It also goes without saying that he's missed his best partnership in Bukayo Saka, who's been out injured, as well as Ben White, because they usually form that triangle on the right flank of the stadium with quick interplay between them. So he's really missed that for the biggest chunk of the season. So I think that has impacted his game. Oftentimes, he's had to carry the ball longer than I do expect him to carry it. Then he makes so many turns around. He doesn't take shots as frequent as I think he should. So that kind of thing. So when you look at last season or the last 2 seasons, he had managed a total of 40 goal involvement, scoring 23 goals and managing 17 assists. In the 2022-2023, he scored 15 goals overall and was Arsenal's best player of the season. Agree. Of course, Bukayo Saka was in that contention or in the mix, and the likes of Gabriel Martinelli. And then last season he was still good, but this season he's been far from good, and he himself did admit to it. Excuse me. In the aftermath of that 7-1 victory against PSV, where he was voted man of the match for scoring the brace and assisting the other in that particular game, provided the assist for Ricardo Carafiori's 7th goal. So last season, he created 88 chances, 13 more than any other player in the Premier League. However, the same cannot be said for him this season. Of course, we also have to add that Arsenal strikers have been absent through injury. Gabriel Jesus out for the rest of the season, and so is Kai Havertz. So clearly, their options have been very limited, and that has overall impacted on their creativity going forward. So when you look at that aspect, you get the feeling that, Arsenal really need to win this game if they are to restore that point gap between them and Nottingham Forest, because by the time we return from the international break, which is next weekend, the weekend after that will be the FA Cup, and then we'll go into midweek fixtures. If Nottingham Forest win their next game and Arsenal fail to win, Nottingham Forest will be going second, and Arsenal will be dropping to third. So clearly, they would want to avoid that at all costs, even when they very well know that they're out of the Premier League title race. So, you do not expect that if Arsenal go ahead to win today to reduce that 15-point deficit to 12, that Liverpool will go ahead and lose the next 4 games, and then Arsenal will have it back in their favor, to pursue the title. I do not expect that to happen. Never mind that Liverpool has capitulated before. We all remember 2013, 2014, when Manchester City, had, of course, a couple of games in hand, but the title was for Liverpool to take. Then they squandered it. Of course, they did capitulate against Chelsea, losing by 2-0. We all remember that unfortunate Steven Gerrard slip. before Dembaba goes on to score. Then they went on to draw with Crystal Palace, I think in a 3-all draw, if I'm not mistaken. Dwight Kyle being very brilliant in that particular game. And then they went on and drew against, I think it was Newcastle, and subsequently they lost out the title. And then it has also happened on other occasions where they've been in a comfortable lead and went on to lose it. They just got knocked out of the UEFA Champions League at the hands of PSG. So clearly, although it was on penalties, take nothing away from PSG because we all thought PSG were the better side. And they will be looking to bounce back from that. But Arsenal will need more than miracles. If, mathematically they are still in it, but it will take a miracle for them to get back in title contention with that, 15-point gap that Liverpool have opened. Anyways, Chelsea. When you look at Chelsea, like I said, their season 2 has been hampered with injuries. That, of course, because at one point they were short on defenders, to the extent that they had to recall Trevor Chalobah back from loan from Crystal Palace. Wesley Fofana was out injured. Levi Colwill was the only one I think available. They had injuries to Richard James, Malo Gusto, and that kind of thing. So clearly, and however, looking at their current settings, I do not think that backline is going to change much. I think Richard James could have recovered from his illness that saw him miss the previous game. So you do have Robert Sanchez in goal. You do have Levi Colwill. You do have Wesley Fofana and Marco Cucurella in that in that backline, and then Tosin Adarabio. And then you come to the midfield, where I do think they've missed really, really so much Romeo Lavia, because he had created a very, very beautiful partnership with him and Moises Caicedo, who has been quite a very very good season, by the way. When you look at his numbers, he does lead in tackles with 82 tackles. So clearly he's had a good season. So they had formed a very decent partnership in that midfield between Moises Caicedo, Romeo Lavia, and Enzo Fernandez at some point, although sometimes Enzo Fernandez will be pulled out for Cole Palmer, and then they tinker with the front three, that kind of thing. So I do expect Moises Caicedo alongside Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer in that midfield. And then, of course, moving forward, you do expect, Nicholas Jackson, one of their leading goal scorers with 9 goals. Cole Palmer does lead the pile with 14 goals and 6 assists, taking his personal tally to a 20-goal involvement across the season. Now, he's not scored in the last 7. I think he's provided just 1 assist. So Cole Palmer has really been on form. And if Chelsea are going to secure a point or even all 3 points in today's game against Arsenal, they really need Cole Palmer to be at the top of his game. So the front 3 is, for me, I do expect Pedro Neto, Christopher Nkunku, and maybe who? I forget the name. Jordan Sancho. Yes, Jordan Sancho. So there's a point where you expect that Noni Madueke was the one making things happen at Chelsea, fell off the wagon. Nicholas Jackson picked up the rope. Cole Palmer did it. Sancho has blown hot and cold, and that kind of thing. But that's the Chelsea side we do expect. They've been quite very decent in recent times. They've tried to regain their form. They've won the last 2, beating Southampton and Leicester City, both teams battling relegation, while the same cannot be said for Arsenal. Never mind that they were facing off with maybe opponents of different magnitude. So, in regards to the Arsenal starting level, we do expect David Wire to start in goal, a centre-back pairing of Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba, who did acknowledge that his season equally has been far from his best this season, which has been the case for most Arsenal players. Then at right back, you expect Julian Timber. Then left back, that's where I would put the question marks. Who is going to be, pitted forward? Is it Miles Lewis Kelly? Is it Ricardo Carafiori? But should none of those be available, Zinchenko is available. Kian Tierney are all available. We did watch them in midweek against PSV. Zinchenko scoring the 6th minute strike, very beautiful goal that had put Arsenal in the lead at the time. So, but I'm thinking, given Zinchenko's performance on the day, that particular, night against PSV, then Mikel Arteta may really be considering putting the Ukrainian, player in midfield because I thought he had a good day in that midfield. So then, Arsenal's midfield, you do expect Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard. That's the midfield that should be battling Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and Cole Palmer on the other side, because I think the game will be won in that midfield. Whoever controls that midfield will dictate the tempo of the game, and eventually will have better chances of winning it. Then, Arsenal's front three, you do expect Leandro Trossard to be part of it. You do expect, of course, Raheem Sterling can't play in this one because he's an on-loan player from Chelsea, so he's out of contention. So you do expect Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, and Ethan Nwaneri. That's my expectation. Should there be a change, it could be Trossard, Nwaneri, and Mikel Moreno, as the false nine, and then we do have Martinelli just coming off the bench because he's just a returning player from injury. So those are the expectations around there. Do let me know what your predictions are. Yesterday, I had given my predictions, but like I said, and I do still apologize, yesterday we did a broadcast in preview of this particular game and among other things, but our microphone went off, so we had to take the video down or the broadcast down because it had no audio to it. But we will do better next time. So apologies on that. But if you're new, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so that we can continue to grow. Do not forget to like the broadcast, comment and share so we can continue to, grow our audience. Anyways, allow me to leave it at that. Regards to Arsenal versus Chelsea, just do let me know your predictions. My prediction is a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. My gut feeling says they could nick this one. Of course, then let's move forward. Leicester City versus Manchester United. Now, Manchester United, this is their game to lose because we're talking about the Leicester City side that has not won a game in the last 5. They've not scored a goal in the last 5, conceding as many as 13 goals. They've lost to Chelsea by 1-0, lost to West Ham by 2-0, lost to Brentford by 4-0, lost to Arsenal by 2-0, lost to Everton by 4-0. So clearly, that's a very poor run of form. And that poor run of form goes back to, I think, even 7 games. They're just not creating chances. They're just not scoring goals. It's not happening for Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's really not happening for him. And then we're talking about the Manchester United side, who their form is not good as well because in their last 5, they've lost 2, losing to Tottenham Hotspur and Crystal Palace, but they've drawn 2 and 1-1. That win coming up against Ipswich Town in a 3-2 victory when they were, I think, down to 10 men. I think Patrick Togu was the one sent off in that particular game. And then, of course, they draw against Arsenal and then the other draw against Everton, that 2-2 draw. But that notwithstanding, still their form is much better than that of Leicester City because we are talking about the United side that has collected 5 points from the last 5 games, while Leicester City have nothing to show for it. And in regards of head-to-head between the last 2 sides, United have dominated this particular fixture, beating Leicester City by 3-0 in the first leg. They've already met, I think, 3 times this season. Beat them in the Carabao Cup, beat them in the FA Cup, and beat them in the Premier League by 3-0. So clearly, United have it in their hands. And when you look back, that was in 2022-2023 season. For the reason as to why I do remember that season vividly, Leicester being involved was because of Aaron Ramsdale having to save that free kick from James Maddison, as Arsenal beat Leicester City, I think, by 2-0. Emil Smith-Rowe being one of the scorers in that particular fixture, for those of you whose memory serves you right. So in that season, Manchester United beat Leicester City home and away. They beat them by 3-0 and 1-0, respectively. So clearly, it's a fixture that they do know how to, play. I think you would have to go back to as far back as 2021 in October, when Leicester City beat up against Manchester United by 4-2. Clearly, so in their last 5 meetings between the 2 sides, United have won 3. There's been 1 draw and Leicester winning 1. So I fancy Manchester United to go ahead and beat up against Leicester City by 3-0. Clearly, Bruno Fernandes has been on fire. He has 7 goals and 7 assists to his name this season. and that's as maybe not his very best, but he was at his best in midweek on Thursday as they knocked out Real Sociedad, beating them by 4-1 at Old Trafford. He did score a hat trick while Diego Dalot scored the other. So, I mean, we're talking about a Manchester United side that have the confidence on the back of that result to go ahead and beat up against Leicester City. Although Matthias de Ligt caused a penalty early on in that game that Oyarzabal went on to convert, it goes without saying that they generally had a good game. So you do expect Onana, Matthias de Ligt in that back line. You do expect Aiden Heaven, who I thought had a very good game. You do expect Mazraoui, Diego Dalot in that lineup. You do expect Patrick Togu had a very good game. Casemiro had a very good game. He got the better of Martin Zubimendi in that midfield. So Bruno Fernandes, Alejandro Garnacho had a very good game, just as much as he had against Arsenal. So it was a very good game. And then maybe Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund. That's the expectation. And that's why we expected United to go ahead and win. So clearly, we'll see how it does span out. Then, before I let you guys go and rush out, the Carabao Cup final. That game does come at 7:30 p.m. East African time. Liverpool versus Newcastle. To get here, Liverpool knocked out Tottenham Hotspurs on a 4-1 aggregate. They lost the first game and beat Spurs in the subsequent reverse fixture by 4-0. Then Newcastle beat up Arsenal home and away by 2-0 in either fixture to win it 4-0 on aggregate to get to the final. So clearly, it's two very deserving teams that at this stage, Newcastle will be without Anthony Gordon, but I think they can cover that hole with Jacob Murphy and Harvey Barnes to cover that gap. And then Alexander Isak leading the lines. Carl Wilson will be available for maybe to come on as a substitute. That midfield of Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Joelinton, maybe to cause Liverpool problems to battle it out with Alexis McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch, and Dominic Szoboszlai on the other side of Liverpool. So that's the expectation. That's the expectation of the battle. Liverpool are the reigning champions of the competition with having beaten Chelsea by 1-0. Virgil van Dijk in extra time last season at Wembley. So they are the title holders. They would want to defend it. They would want to overcome that disappointment of being knocked out of the UEFA Champions League. And the victory against Newcastle would clearly serve to cover that. Then Newcastle want to get their hands on a piece of silverware. They lost in the 2023 finals of the Carabao Cup, losing to Manchester United, I think, by 2-0. So Eddie Howe wants something to his name before he decides his next chapter at Newcastle, how he wants it to shape up. Anyway, allow me to leave you guys with that and say bye-bye. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time.